Well, hello again on a Super Bowl Sunday. My name is Gary, and this is the Restoring Main Street podcast. Thank you, as always, for joining me. Hey, it's Sunday. I don't usually do Sunday recordings. I try to leave that as the Lord's Day, whatever, but I don't mean whatever as a casual comment. I just mean I try to respect that. But I felt prompted today to just share something with you quickly. I know I always promise to be quick, but definitely my goal today is to be just that. I hope things have been well with you since the last time we've spent time together. Last podcast has been a little bit, but hey, here we are again, and just want to take up a little bit of your time. I have a question for you. What's important to you? The last few podcasts, I've tried to share with you different things that I know of in the local area here in New Hampshire, in the Granite State, that you can get involved in and make a difference. So in that frame of mind, in that approach, I'd like to do the same today. But I'd like to just share something with you straight from the source, straight from one of the individuals that or groups that I spend time with and try to do what I can to help, and that be We the People, New Hampshire. There's a woman that heads this up, and pardon me, Therese, I'm not going to even attempt your last name. We have never met, excuse me, officially. So I've never had a chance to really introduce myself or likewise yourself. And I don't want to butcher your last name because I am synonymous for doing so with people. So I'm going to avoid that until we actually get a chance to speak to one another. But Therese is the one that started up and heads the movement as far as We the People New Hampshire. Now, she will immediately say that, she's not the only one involved. She may be the one that tries to coordinate, but it's a lot of driving forces behind that and individuals that share time and energy in order to make these things happen. And at some point, I'd like to have Therese on and do a podcast with her just to kind of give you a little bit more of her background. But to make it short and as brief as I know, Therese found motivation behind this just watching what happened over the last few years with COVID, and became more and more concerned, like a lot of us across this country, as far as what was happening in our communities and how, in a lot of ways, our freedoms and different things that, up until that point we may have taken for granted have been abused and neglected. And she found herself actually being charged and arrested during a meeting here in Concord not that long ago by our illustrious governor for just being there. And I want to say they were aware of her and her intentions, and just for uttering the words amen. She and a few others, for reasons that are still not exactly clear, were arrested and taken out of the assembly, the meeting, by state troopers, New Hampshire state troopers. So I think that honestly just re-emphasized the fact that, there are things going on, not just in New Hampshire, but across the country, where individuals are, abusing citizens' freedoms, our freedoms, our ability to just be able to speak our mind and share our opinions, whether you agree with them or not. So, rather than continue to blab on about We the People New Hampshire, I want to play just a 15-minute clip, and then I'll wrap things up. Like I said, I'm trying to make this short, just so you can get an idea of who We the People New Hampshire and Therese actually is, what the movement is about. And I'm hoping it prompts you to consider getting involved. Like I've said many times in the past, that the time for sitting on our hands or sitting on the sidelines or praying that the government is going to act in our best interest, whether it be state government or federal, those days are long over. And if you want a vehicle or a game plan that would allow you to have an impact on changing some of these things and seeing something positive occur, especially here in the state of New Hampshire, I encourage you to take the next few minutes and listen to Therese and let her explain a little bit about an event that's happening this next Saturday. You know what? Let me do the intro for the show, and then once we get to the close up here, I'll put Therese on, and you can hear her for yourself. And there we go. Lucky you get the tight shot on my face. Just kidding. All right. Without dragging this out any longer, We the People and its leader or founder, Therese. And like I said, I'm not even going to attempt her last name because I just don't want to butcher it. I hope you could appreciate that, Therese, and we get a chance to speak sometime here soon so that I can remedy that. But all right, let me just transition and start the video.
Happy Saturday, you guys. I hope you all were able to get outside in the beautiful weather. It's going to be a beautiful week. I'm super excited. I actually have this entire week off. And I just wanted to spend a few minutes, going into what is this group? How did it come about? Where are we headed? What's the purpose? Because this is a group that is meant to be doers and have a purpose to it, not just keyboard warriors. So if you're new to the group, welcome. We are so glad you are here. There is safety and strength in numbers, and encourage you to invite all your friends that are liberty-minded. So next Saturday is our first, this group is just a year old, but this is going to be our first sit-down working strategic session. And I know your time is valuable. I know what that's like as a working mom. So I don't want you to feel like, should I go? Will it be a waste of my time? So I'm always about being transparent and clear with you guys, and just really respectful that you all have a lot of competing priorities. But I do think there's some value in getting together face to face and kind of doing a working session as to what this group needs to be putting its hands to in 2023, and what we're about, what is our mission statement, that kind of thing. So what to expect next Saturday, starting at 4:30 p.m. in Manchester. We have a beautiful venue. It seats 140 people. We will be getting Sal's Pizza, first come, first serve, but hopefully there'll be enough to serve everyone. And we do have childcare lined up, so I don't want those to be barriers. In addition to that, we will be doing it also by Zoom. So if you want to remote in and participate that way, we're going to try our best to facilitate that as well. So at 4:30, we're going to start. And what's in Therese's brain? What are we going to try and accomplish from 4:30 to 6? Basically, we're going to sit down and if you work backwards from a project, what do we need? We need elected officials that we trust. We need a government that's going to represent we the people. Okay, so how do we do that? My goal is to do Resolve 2024 again, which is simply us recruiting, vetting, knowing that we have a lineup that we believe in as patriots that care about the future for our children and are scared to death about Agenda 2030, destroying the country that our forefathers created, and getting that slate lined up and then assembling the vote and trying to get those individuals voted into office so that we have people down at the Capitol that we can trust. So that's the end game, right? So how do we do that? And the reason I want to do this live is, one, to let everyone know what to expect next Saturday. So Resolve, if you weren't around, we were baby group, and we just felt like we don't know what we're doing, but we need to do. And we basically just, in a Hail Mary, very short on time, threw together an initiative called the Resolve. And it really was just that. Let's take the top 33 seats. So you've got your Congress, your 2 congressmen, you've got your state senator, your governor, your 5 executive council members. We might have people who legislate and represent we the people. The next question that came up was, well, what matters, Therese? Are we really just doing this all in vain because we don't know that we trust the elections? So we did figure out through the RSAs how to force a hand count with our slate to kind of make sure, and then we recruited people to work the polls. In addition to that, we discovered something called delegates within the Republican Party that often went vacant. And delegate is an individual in a county that should be able to help discern and decide and collaborate with that county's Republican leadership, who goes to the annual Republican event and votes in the leadership for the state party. We were so didn't know what we were doing, but we're doing. We raised up over 200 delegates. Unfortunately, some of the counties did not let the delegates participate in who was selected to go to the annual meeting. We tried to get good leadership. We probably, from what I'm told, in years past at the New Hampshire GOP annual meeting, maybe made up 5-10% of the room. This time we were about 25-30% of the room. So part of this group's goal is that we want to be over 50% of the room a year from now, and we want to take back the Republican Party. So what's going on in the Republican Party? Let's take a step back. So you have 2 types of Republicans in my mind's eye, the way that I look at it. One, you've got the Republicans that have been going to the county meetings, have been part of the New Hampshire GOP, do like monthly lunches, with other Republicans. Like, really, politics is like a hobby for them, a passion for them. They've been deeply rooted in politics for a very long time. And right now, you could kind of call them establishment. That's kind of a negative connotation to it, but they're for Sununu. They don't want to talk about election integrity. They don't want to say anything about abortion. And Trump is too fringe extremists. And so they're kind of like what you would call, also a term that's thrown around, milquetoast. Like, they want to be like middle of the road. They don't want to be confrontational. They want the most popular, who they think will win the vote kind of candidate. So, and then you've got the second population of Republicans, and they might be the straight vote Republicans that hate politics, that don't like going to the DMV or dealing with bureaucratic mess, think politicians are all a bunch of narcissistic egomaniacs. And they're basically the Republicans that are saying, oh crap, 2030 is on our doorstep. What the hell? Let's go, let's save our country. So those 2 populations are kind of at odds with each other right now. And I would say I fall into the second category. And no one has beat another Republican up more in this state than myself. So far as the New Hampshire GOP chair actually sent an email with my name specific. They've gone after my nursing license. They have sat quiet after I was arrested for uttering amen. If anyone should be like, that's it, I'm not going to put my name to the Republican Party in the state of New Hampshire, it would probably be myself. However, the way that I'm looking at this is, you're not stealing my country, you're not stealing my state, and you're not stealing my party. Like, I've been a Republican my entire life. So I want to win it all back, right? And the reality is, if we have this first group of Republicans always going back to back with the second population of Republicans, we're never going to figure out a slate for 2024, and we're going to end up losing 2024. So we got to deal with this conflict. So that's part of what I want to talk about next Saturday too, because I believe we're in the place we're in. Let's be realistic, because the second part of the number 2 type Republicans like myself weren't involved. Okay, so the number 1, establishment politician Republicans that are, don't disparage and, just as long as they have an R next to their name, let's just get them in, even if they don't represent the platform. And we're like, no, that person wants abortion. That person isn't going to do anything about election integrity. Like, you know, we're getting all in a tither. They wouldn't be what they were, I think, if we had been involved this entire time. So I think we kind of have to own that a little bit. But I have to tell you, day after day, I am sitting here going, are you kidding me? Our Republican governors met with the CEO of Pfizer, and I'm watching people die every shift. Like, I don't know that I want my name associated with that. And there's a lot of you that feel that way. You're watching different things where, you know, what happened on the Speaker of the House, and just like people who have thrown the American people under the bus that have an R next to their name. And you're like, I don't want an R next to my name anymore. I don't want to affiliate with this corruption. And I get that. So we have another strategic idea that we're going to talk about next Saturday. And I've always been transparent and honest with all of you. And there's something called the Constitution Party. And I've been vetting and looking at it for about 6 months. They do a weekly phone call. They are the 5th largest party in the United States. They are 30 years old. Their platform is beautiful. But what would it take for us to launch that? Now, before you get too excited, because third parties never do well, we would need to crawl, walk, run. So it would be something where if we launched it, we would have a soft launch. And the Constitution Party of New Hampshire, which I did secure the trade name, if we decided to move forward with this, would basically endorse certain Republican candidates. So we would still register as Republicans, vote as Republicans, and then we would endorse Republican candidates that we feel are worthy of the Constitution Party's endorsement. And then as we get enough membership to actually have ballot access, if that happens in the years to come, then we would have something set up to set us apart from what a lot of us are identifying that feels like a uniparty. And what is a uniparty? A uniparty is when both the Democrat and the Republican Party truly are not working in the best interest of the people and kind of just working in the best interest of the lobbyist and political clout or leverage. So how does that happen? You can ask, we've had debates. I think it was Lou Axelman's dad did a great debate. Is there any time, as a Republican, is there any time, anything that a Republican candidate could do that would force you to vote for the Democrat? And the whole debate was like, no, 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 no. It's like, well, that's how we end up as a uniparty, because, you know, if the person has an R next to their name and the Democrat is way more progressive, like, you're just going to keep moving the line of the party platform more and more towards center, and center continues to move, and then that's when you end up in totalitarianism and all kinds of communism, socialism, and all of those things. So we're going to go down a parallel path. We're going to continue to work to be delegates, to get involved in our county committees, to try and figure out what the bylaws are so that we can participate in who goes to the annual GOP meeting, and figure out ahead of time who we want our leadership to be for the party. We're going to be a lot smarter about it this time. But more about than anything, I think it's by design. I think that there's actually a concentrated effort, you could call me paranoid on this one, but a concentrated effort to destroy the Republican conservative ideology in this country, obviously, but specifically here in New Hampshire. There are people, and I will say it out loud, Sununu, who would love nothing more than the Republican Party to dissolve and fall apart. And I have to say, with Chris Ager becoming New Hampshire GOP, and who he wanted to run for RNC, which was Corey Lewandowski, who has had affairs and he has had a whole lot of drama, and he just would not be a good face for who we are and what we stand for. The fundraising is going to be really, really tough this year. So if you're with me for the resolve, I truly believe that this shouldn't be influenced by money. And I think that that's part of the problem. So part of the beauty of the resolve was it was a bunch of nurses and mechanics and plumbers and hygienists and accountants and regular people just saying, who do I know in my county who has proven to me that they are for my children and they are for the principles of this country, who are the ones, with the "Don't Tread on Me" flag, who are, all about our Constitution and, really standing strong. Okay, let's go to them and say, hey, will you run as my state rep? Will you run as my state Senate seat? Will you run as executive council member? And let's get that done now. And let's leave all the other noise aside, because if we don't, we're going to spend so much time and energy with all the drama that the party will not survive. So I hope this helps. I hope this gives you a feel for what I hope to accomplish next Saturday. I'll be sitting down and kind of going through this a little bit more. I do have actual dates by May 31st. I want us to have all of our candidates compiled for who we want to consider for filling in the puzzle of what our slate will look like for 2024, because I want to have a full year for you guys to campaign for that slate of people. So if you want to participate in helping us leave on Saturday, 2/18, and from 2/18 to 5/31, we're going to do our recruitment. We're going to figure out who we want in those top 33 seats. We're going to ask people, is this a position you'd be willing to do if we could orchestrate a block vote to put you in and you didn't have to raise $100,000 to do the campaigning piece of it? And then we're going to assemble. So how do we assemble? That is, last time for $25 you could get a yard sign for $5, and then you could get, or it was $15. It was $10 for the yard sign and $15 for 500 business cards, and the business cards would help link people into the initiative and the slate and the participation. So instead of sending money to a party, sending money to a candidate, and not knowing what the heck was happening with your money, we're letting you be the one to campaign. We're letting you be the one to get behind the slate. You, the block vote, being really we, the people, putting that together. So I hope that answers questions. I hope you find it of value to attend next Saturday. And if you have questions about what we're going to try and do in that hour and a half, please reach out to me. But I wanted you guys to discern before you change your weekend plans and everything else, just know exactly what to expect in that hour and a half working session. And then we're going to take a break for a half hour. And then at 6:30, we're going to be showing a free movie, Super Spreader, which is Sean Falk, who ran for Congress out in California, stood up against all of the shutdowns and held the line. And his story will leave you feeling very fierce to just, stand up for your country, stand up for your intuition, stand up for your beliefs. So I would encourage all of you. I think it's going to be a really good time to put our heads together. This does not need to be complicated. And New Hampshire is small enough and liberty-minded enough that I think we can very easily win it all back. I'm still amazed at how much we accomplished in 4 months. And the different individuals we were able to move out of their seat that were not in our best interest. And I know that threatens a lot of the politicians here in the state. And so I know that's where, I'm probably the easy pick and target for them to go after, but that's okay. I'm fine to be here. And at the same time, this is going to be a battle. This is definitely a spiritual battle in my mind, but this is a battle. And this quote keeps coming up, death by 1,000 cuts. And, we've all kind of working our freedom fight. And I've always said, your fight may not look like my fight, but I respect your fight. And I really want that to be this group's motto. So if somebody else is really about legislation, if somebody else is really about creating a grand jury, if somebody else is wanting to do a newsletter, if somebody else is wanting to do election integrity or whatever part of this is like your passion or your thing, editorials, we're going to come up with, who in the room that shows up next Saturday, what is the thing that you find yourself gravitating to? And can we then have you just be a point person for other people who have the same passion in that same area of this freedom fight, so that you guys aren't going at things by yourself. You're going at them with some strength and safety in numbers. And then also just a couple of point people for each county that we can reach out to and say, okay, we're really trying to fill up this slate. We need to figure out who the right executive council member would be or who the right Senate seat would be. And you're going to have some familiarity with some of the names that are in the inventory that we can maybe solicit or recruit or pull from. So that's kind of where we're at. I hope that makes sense. And I'm sure that hour and a half will go by very quickly. And if you want to start working on what you think the mission statement should be for this group. I want it to be pithy and to the point. So if you've got some creative juices with that, go for it. And we're going to clean up the website in February this month and the beginning of March, and we'll get it all ready for Resolve 2024. And we're just going to keep our eyes on who can we recruit, how can we get the best lineup possible, and how can we let everyone know here, this is a group of non-political people without any influence of money trying to put together the best lineup possible. And you know what? If the New Hampshire GOP establishment, that number one type Republican group, comes up with somebody that we feel is good, then we can cross that bridge at that point. What happened last year, what I'm seeing, is it was the last day of, so you file to run for a position in June. There's a week in June where everyone goes down to the State House to file. That Friday, we still had holes in our slate where nobody had decided to run against some of the tyrants. So like Ann Kopp and I went down on the last Friday to run for executive council member, and we both ended up with like 30% of the vote. And we had no intention of running, and then so in June you declare, and then in September is the primary. So that's what, July, August, 2 months to get your vote. And so imagine if we started a whole year ahead. Imagine if we had a lineup that was right and tight a year in advance. And yeah, maybe we journey through the next, 14 months and somebody else declares that we didn't think about, that we evaluate and we vet and we do debates and we decide come the primary, we switch courses from who we originally put in that spot. But I really think it's foolish for us to wait till June of 2024 to try and figure out who these people are. We keep waiting until the last minute. And I can tell you right now, the Democrats, they get their stuff together and they get their slate and they have it lined up and everyone knows what it is way before the primary. And so I think we need to get above the noise and get focused on what matters most, and let's focus on that, and then we can kind of back into some of this other stuff as time allows. So I hope that makes sense. I know I'm rambling on. Tomorrow, every Sunday at 7 p.m., I avail myself to a Zoom call where you can come on, we roundtable, people can ask questions, bring up events that are coming up. So please feel free to join the Zoom call every Sunday at 7. The link never changes. It's always the same. I'll make sure it's in the comments here. So, and again, if you're new to the group, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We do action items. I was telling someone else when I did the Forgotten Initiative, which was a ministry for kids in foster care, we went through a training and it was this drip, 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 fire hydrant, drip, 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 fire hydrant. And basically that was like little action item, little action, big event. And that way you stay fresh in people's minds. They continue to stay engaged and participate. So we will always be serving up opportunities for you guys to fight your freedom fight. But again, this is your fight. And we're here to be the wind in your sail and not to disparage or pull you down, but to lift you up. So I hope that as you post, you think, okay, is this going to spur people on or is this going to discourage them and get them to shut down? And I think we have to be very careful about that as well. God bless you guys. I love you all. I love your fight. I've only just begun. I am not dissolving, and I hope you're not dissolving either. Resolve to go the distance. Resolve to give it all you got until, either we win this battle or God takes us home. Either way, right? And on that note, we did discover that the word resolve was part of the language of our forefathers before the Constitution was ratified. So if you go check out Suffolk County Resolves, you'll see, and I didn't know that at all. I'd never heard of that. So I don't know if I was asleep in history or history didn't teach me about the Suffolk Resolves. But I felt like I was visited by a ghost of our forefathers when Jason Gerhard brought that to my attention. So I do think we're in a really cool part of history. Embrace that this is like an amazing time to be alive, and don't let fear or discouragement and all of that take root in your story. God bless you guys. Again, I'll be on tomorrow at 7 p.m. and I hope to see a bunch of you Saturday on February 18th down in Manchester. Let's take it back.
Okay. Excuse me. So that is who we, the people of New Hampshire, are. That's the group that Therese helped assemble. She is part of the driving force behind that. And you know, I know you tune into this podcast, and it's called Restoring Main Street. And I think I mentioned recently, a few podcasts ago, that my first intention was, you know, to try to share positive information, local information, and to, you know, bring attention to area businesses, especially in my town, near my city of Rochester, to help revitalize the downtown. Excuse me. And you know what? That's how this started out. But I've noticed over the last few years that the idea of restoring Main Street, you have to try to preserve Main Street first. And I think I've mentioned that, you know, recently, that my motivation or my ideas behind a lot of this, the reason I'm sharing something that's you know, politics lately over the last year or so, off and on. I never wanted this to necessarily be a political podcast in any real way. Honestly, what draws me to the topics and the things I share with you is the idea of trying to preserve our communities, preserve Main Street. And right now, the voices that I'm hearing, the ones that fall in line with the principles that I believe in, seem to be coming from people like Therese and like these groups. And that's why I'm sharing these things. The majority of people that listen, I'm assuming, to this podcast, because I haven't had a lot of people necessarily reach out beyond New Hampshire, is our Granite Staters, our local people. So my concern is local. You know, I have an eye on, obviously, on the federal level of things too, and I just like Therese, I see the direction that our environment and the things happening around us are going, and it makes me beyond concerned. Like I said, it's no longer a question of sitting on the sidelines. You need to get involved, and that's why I'm sharing this with you. That's why I've gone from, you know, kind of a restoring Main Street to almost let's try and preserve Main Street right now, so that, you know, that maybe we can attempt to try to restore things, you know, once we've re-solidified, you know, our footings, you know, that we're not standing in quicksand anymore, and those principles that we've, you know, that I grew up with, that I believe most of you that watch and listen believe in, that those things are shored up, and those are the things we're fighting for, so that you know, we can have a vibrant, safe, free community. And that's why I share this. That's why I do this. So I'll be right back. Well, there you go. That is my little less than 60-second ad for my my poetry book, The North Country Chronicles, Poetry and Prose from the Granite State. You can go to Amazon and to Barnes & Noble, and if you type in that entire title, and I'm sorry that you have to do that in order to locate it, but like I said, The North Country Chronicles, Poetry and Prose from the Granite State. If you'd like to support me in that way, I'd really appreciate it. And so that's my quick little book plug. Let's get back to the close-up shot. All right. Like I said, I don't want to drag this on any longer than I need to, because honestly, I've shared the main point that I wanted to in this particular podcast. But what I'd like to do is some of the things I normally do, a little housekeeping right here, and that is to remind you about Coffee News Rochester. My friend Gene Vallee has been running this page for quite some time. If you live in the local area and you want to know what's going on, keep abreast of everything that's happening in the community, visit Coffee News Rochester on Facebook. Let Gene Vallee know that your friend, his friend Gary from Restoring Main Street mentioned this, and if you would leave him a note and just let him know about that, I would really appreciate it, and I'm sure he'd love to hear from you. Also, a new sharing here that I wanted to make note of. My friends at Metalheads, unfortunately, had to close their doors, so I've moved on from Metalheads and just wanted to share another local business with you. Fallen Leaf Bistro is on Main Street here in Rochester, and you look for those little gems sometimes within your community, and I want to tell you that Fallen Leaf is definitely one of those places. You can go to their website. I will, as I do with podcast information with the We the People New Hampshire, I will put the links to that so you can go to those pages and get involved, find out more about it. But I will also put a link to Fallen Leaf Bistro in the notes at the bottom of this podcast, so you can go check them out as well. Just a quick about them as far as on their website. Just a cozy little American bistro serving something for everyone. Meat eaters, veggie heads, gluten-free, and plant-based tastes all come together. We take pride in making everything homemade and to order. What we lack in size, we make up for in love and passion, and you can taste that in our food and gourmet coffees. Come as strangers and leave as friends. So that was something I wanted to share with you. Fallen Leaf Bistro, go to downtown Rochester and check them out. Holler back to Christine out back there and let her know Gary from Restoring Main Street suggested you and suggested them, and you decided to come and check them out. So I appreciate greatly the fact that each of you take some time to check in and view this podcast each week. One thing I would ask from you is that you would share this. That's the way this information gets out. That's the way the podcast grows. And the things I get a chance to talk about, the businesses and just people in our communities that, could use a little more visibility. Excuse me. I try to do it through this podcast, and the only way that audience grows is if you share this. So if you would go to Rumble, YouTube, GabTV, BitCHUTE. I would prefer Rumble and GabTV, honestly, because those are the platforms that are truly free speech. But you can also find me on some of the socials as well. MeWe, Gab, Getter, Instagram, Parler, and Truth Social. But honestly, my focus is Rumble and GabTV. So if you would go there, subscribe to the channel, share it, comment, give a review, and like I said, hit the notifications button so that every time a new podcast pops up, you get notified and you can come and listen to what it is I'm trying to share with you, and share this, like I said, with a friend. That's the way the podcast grows. The information gets out there, and if the things that interest me or I find value in, if you feel the same, That's how you can help me out. I would truly appreciate any and all the support that you can give. So thank you once again. And as always, I like to leave you with this because honestly, this is truly how I feel from the bottom of my heart, that we need to remember God, freedom, and family. Because if we lose our relationship with God, if we lose our freedom, our families are truly doomed. So again, I'd like to thank you for listening. And, until next time, God bless.